Hey, Mick Meany here, ProfitCopilot.com, and today you will discover how to quickly make awesome blog content that gets free traffic from Google using artificial intelligence tools. You see, until very recently, making content was expensive and time-consuming, and there was also a lot of guesswork involved, and we never really knew if the content would strike the right chord. So this is the new way to do content creation, and it dramatically increases your chance of success. And today we're going to build it around answering questions that provide value to your target audience. So let's go to the computer and I'll walk you through it. So let's start with Google. Let's generate some content ideas. Let me move the microphone in so you can actually hear me. So let's think about content. Let's think about some questions that we can answer. That's really the starting point. So for this, we're going to use Google itself to generate lots of ideas. So let's say, because we're talking about creating blog content, let's say blog content. So we put in a couple of seed keywords maybe, so blog content. And what we're going to look for is people also ask. So you're probably familiar with this process, but it is the first building block on something much more powerful. So here are questions that people are actually asking in this niche. So what happens if we click on this? It's going to open up a little box, but what also is going to happen is it's going to generate more questions that people are asking. So what are 4 common types of blogs? So that could be a good one to go for. And now it's generating more content. So let's say we take that. What are 4 common types of blogs? Let's go with that. And what we can do is scroll right down to the bottom of the page, and we can also see other keywords that people are searching for. So if we want to generate more ideas, we can go here as well. So that is how to use Google itself to generate some content ideas, because Google is showing us these keywords, right? We know that people are searching for them. We know that they're popular. So that's a really good starting point. Another way to do it manually is to use Answer the Public. Now, I'm going to show you how to automate this in a second, but we do need a starting point. So let's go to Answer the Public and type in that question. What are the 4 common types of blogs? And let's see what it brings back. So it should bring back quite a lot of data if there's a few angles that we can use. We might have to reduce it down a little bit. We might have to remove some of the question, but that's fine. So let's structure this data in the right way. So here we have more questions, more ideas to go with. If we scroll down further, we can see all this type of data. So this can come into play later on if we're going down the manual approach. Let me show you another way to get more questions. So we want to go to Answer Socrates. And there we go. So if we put in a topic, let's say blog posts, for example, because I want to get you lots of content here. So just blog posts will do for the moment. Click search. It's going to bring back even more data for you. So obviously Answer the Public and Answer Socrates work in very similar ways. There is some difference there. So use both, get as much data and as many ideas as you can before we move in to the next phase. So what we want to do is create a list of all the questions that people are asking that will be easy for us to answer. In fact, we're going to make it really easy. We're going to allow the AI tools to do a lot of the heavy lifting for us. So that's how to do it manually. If you want to do it quicker, then we can use a tool like Phrase. I'll put an affiliate link in the description if I remember to. And we have this outline builder. So what we can do is just paste in a seed keyword, so blog posts, and then hit return, what it's going to do is do the same thing that we did manually, but it's also going to look at Quora and Reddit. Excuse me while I have a drink. So it's also giving us a keyword volume. I think this is being pulled from Moz. I could be wrong about that, but either way, it's telling us the search volume, which is great. And then we have related questions. So if we click on this, it's going to show us the same process that we did on Google itself, except that, this is a more automated way of doing it. And I'll show you the benefit of using Phrase in a second, because we can go through these questions that we know people are asking. So we could go, let's say we take that one, we click that. Now it's adding it to an outline. This is very important because we'll talk about the actual structure of your content in a second. But first we need to have a rough outline. So if we go through all these questions, let's say, oops, my phone's going crazy. So let's choose blog writing examples. What should I put on my blog? Blog post ideas. And then we have the Quora questions. So what are some good blogs to follow on Quora? We might want to use that as some kind of inspiration. And then we can scroll down to questions that people are asking on Reddit. So these are your target audience. These are your potential customers. So if we create top of funnel content that addresses their concerns, pull them in, we should be able to market to them and ultimately sell to them pretty easier further down the road. So let's click create document. That's going to give us a rough outline. It's not going to be solid. It's not going to be set in stone. We're going to adapt this because what Phrase is going to do is show us what our competitors are doing. What our competitors are doing, and we can see their outlines. So, for example, we can see that. Well, it's showing us that the average word count is 2,000 words. So we know that we should create a piece of content of similar length if we want to rank for this specific key phrase blog posts. Of course, we want to make it long tail. But the point is we should look through the structure of our competitors' content and then almost like cherry pick ideas. So if we go down here, so headline rule, steal from the pros. That's exactly what we're doing right now. In fact, using the word steal is kind of wrong. We're being inspired by the pros. So we might want to add that to our outline. And let's choose a few here. So how to write a blog post in 5 easy steps. Good stuff. Let's add that. How to write an outline for your post. That's exactly what we're doing at the moment. This is so meta. So what we've got here is a rough outline and questions that we can answer. So we'll come back to this in a second when we start actually fleshing out the content, because what we've got here is almost like a fill in the blank approach to content creation. So we know what questions people are asking, and yeah, sure, we have to edit this outline a little bit. You know what? This is going to change over the course of the process. So don't worry if this is messy. That's fine. But another good thing that you can do with Phrase is check this out. So if we want to talk about adding a call to action to our blog posts, we can click that. And we can also use the AI tool. Let's click on that. So now it's going to generate subheading ideas that are unique for us. So what we could do is take this as a subheading. So let's get rid of that. And another thing that we can do with Phrase is, let's stick with this. So add a clear call to action. Let's take a bit of content, and add it in there. So now we have something to reference. So we can add this as a quote inside our article with a link to the source, Or check this out, we have some AI shortcuts. If you click on that, we can paraphrase. Click paraphrase, check out what it's doing. Now this is a little bit hit and miss. It's only in version 1, so it's not perfect, but when it works, it can produce some pretty good results. So, and would you know it, it's not working as I'm doing this live. That's great. Okay, so let's come back to that in a couple of minutes because we have a rough outline. So what we need to do is really structure this properly so it gives our audience maximum value. I'll show you how to do that. So let's go to Google Slides. Let me show you how to structure your content because we have this outline, which we'll get really clear on in a second. But of course, your piece of content starts with the keywords and they're going to be in your title, right? So that's your first starting point. We've already looked at that. We've got some rough ideas. So now, when it comes to the actual content of your blog post, we have this funnel structure. So much of what we do on the internet is based around funnels, and it's about bringing a wide section of people in, knowing that by the time they get to the bottom, they're going to be in the minority of people. And that's okay, because this process kind of filters out all the people who are not serious about taking action. And then at the bottom, it leaves the people who really are. So we have this funnel structure, and it starts with answering the question. Straight away, what we need to do is just give them the answer, right? We need to give them the content straight up and not waste time, because they can click back and they've got, 9 other search engine results to go through, right? So we want to give them the answer fast. And then when we've delivered value, we want to show the implications of what can happen when they solve the problem, when they take action. So we build desire here. And then we summarize the blog post. And this is where you can ask people to take action. This is where you ask them to click here to an affiliate link or to opt into an email list or whatever. So another way of looking at this structure is to use this format. So we have attention. We have to grab their attention. We do that through the headline. Then we need to trigger their interest. And we do that by answering the question. We give them the answer that they're seeking. But in addition to that, in this section, very early on in the blog post, we also have the problem, agitate, solution framework. So what we do here very early on is we acknowledge the problem, we call it out, we say, we communicate that we know why they are there, and then we agitate it just a little bit, not too much, but we understand their pain and their frustration, and then we provide a solution, and that's the answer to the problem. So the very top of your blog post has to have that structure. So it's problem, agitate the problem, and then provide the solution. And that's going to help move them further down the funnel to the desire stage. So this is where you show the implications, you show the real world benefits of what actually happens when they solve their problem. So you're increasing their desire. You can do this with storytelling, with case study results, before and after, loads of ways to build desire. And that matches this section, the show implications section. And then finally, we have the action section. So this is where we tell them to click here to move them on to the next stage of the funnel, and that is inside the summary. So it's the last thing that we want them to do. In fact, when it comes to a call to action, you can have multiple calls to action throughout your blog post if you want to, but generally, if you're just getting started, stick to this one because that's going to get you the best results. So with that in mind, we need to go back to this content brief or outline and now restructure it so it makes sense, so it matches what we've just done here. So first of all, what are they asking? So how do you write a blog post? So let's answer that immediately. And then what would the next one be? What should I put on my blog? Well, let's structure this. So let's get really clear here. What are they actually asking? So blog post ideas. Let's say that they want to know blog post ideas. So there we would answer that straight away. Move that to the top. Blog post ideas, and then we would go into what can happen when you have a successful blog. So let's talk about blog writing examples. Here we could use some case studies maybe. So we could build desire. We can look at famous bloggers, their examples of what they've done, and the type of content that they have used and the results that they've got from that. Then we can get into the real step-by-step actionable stuff, so we can really educate them. So we can talk about how to write headlines. We can then talk about how to write an outline for a blog post. We can also do things like keyword selection, so keyword research. So what we're doing, we are really fleshing this out to have a solid structure, and we're not using all of these. Now, because we're using AI to do this, it's going to be a pretty quick and easy process. So let's go to Jarvis. So this is conversion.ai. In my opinion, it's probably the best one around at the moment. It's probably the best artificial intelligence content creator at the moment. So I'm going to go to the long form assistant. Here I'm going to tell it what I want to make, what I want it to create for me. So I want it to write a blog post, write a blog post about how to write blog posts. Now, when it comes to adding a description in here, sometimes you're going to get better results if you populate this with lots of ideas, lots of content. Sometimes you're going to get better results if you give it less information. At the moment, I'm getting better results with adding less content here. So let's click continue. Let's have it generate some headline ideas, and let's say 11 awesome ways to uncover your creative writing. Well, let's say if we want to target how to write blog posts, a guide for beginners, that's pretty good. Let's go with that. Let's have it generate some ideas. It's running a little bit slow at the moment. Maybe it's my internet connection. So we have some ideas. A blog post is a great way to share your knowledge with others. Yeah, let's go with that and open up the editor. Okay, so now we have this introduction. What I want to do is go to the power mode, and I want to go to problem agitate solution, the PSA framework. So you can see that I use it quite a lot. I've actually used it in this piece of content myself at the very beginning. So what I'm going to do is just take this piece of content that it's generated, paste it in there, and then I'm going to have Jarvis generate some problems, and then have Jarvis generate the problem Agitate solution framework for me. It's going to take a couple of seconds. So here we go. It's brought up. Writing a blog post is hard. You need to have the right tools. You need to know how to write in order to. That's pretty good. Okay, so we might copy that and then paste that in to our article. Get rid of the problem bit, then the agitate and the solution. So it's not too bad. Now, if we go back here to our outline, to our outline, if we grab that first idea, we go back to Jarvis, and then we put it in the form of a question. So what Jarvis is playing up. I think my internet connection isn't great today. A lot of tech problems at the moment. Okay, so what are blog post ideas? Let's say some blog post ideas, and then have Jarvis generate a list for us. Let's have it generate some more for us. We can choose between short form, long form, medium form. So that's generating quite a lot of content for us. It's even asking other questions So let's drill down into this a little bit further. What are some blog post ideas? So we could say listicles, maybe listicles, interviews, and round up posts, some common types of blog post. And now let's have Jarvis finish the rest of it. So we'll go over how to weave them into your content in the right way. The last thing we're going to cover is formatting and editing blog posts. So this is pretty good stuff, and in the space of a couple of minutes maybe, it's generated 200, almost 300 words. So what we would do is go through this list. So we could say, let's say keyword research. Let's add that into the mix. So we could ask it, how do I do keyword research? And then have Jarvis populate. Okay, so I actually made a suggestion here. How do I do keyword research for my blog? So let's change that. I like that because that is more targeted. Okay, good stuff. So you can see that doing this process of using Jarvis as an assistant, and that's all it really is. It's just an assistant. It's not going to create entire blog posts from scratch. You do have to work with it. You do have to kind of train it on what you want. You have to remove bits, add new bits in, and try again. And ultimately, over the course of an hour or so, you are going to end up with quite a lengthy piece of content that answers questions and delivers value. And that's fantastic. So let's say we're happy with that. Obviously, if I was doing this for real, I'd spend maybe an hour or 2 hours on this to get it absolutely bang on. But I guess you don't want to watch me do that for 2 hours, which is fair enough. If you do, let me know. I'll be happy to film myself doing that. But anyway, let's copy this. And now we need to optimize it. Now, Jarvis integrates with SEO Surfer. So if you're a member of that, or they'll give you some kind of special deal if you sign up through their affiliate link. But the point is, we need to optimize this content, right? Because we want traffic. So we don't just take a chance with this. We've got a few options. If you're using phrase, you can go to my content. You can paste in the content there, and it's not working right for me. Let me refresh the page a sec, because I want the there we go. We've got the sidebar thingy back. So if we go to my content now, what phrase is going to do is show the topic score, certain keywords that we need to put inside the content. So let's say blog post ideas. Well, we've got that mentioned. Search engines. So let's just add the word search engines into the mix. So search engines. Oops, if I can spell it right. Okay, so now it's changed that score, and it's bumped it up one. So we can go through this piece of content and add in relevant keywords. So Google Analytics. Oops. And there it's going to change it again. So we can bounce back and forth between phrase and Jarvis and have fresh content generated wherever we need it. Or we can add this to the outline if we want to, because we know what topics we need to be covering. But the point is, we should be optimizing it. Now, for me, I think phrase is a really good starting point, and it is going to get you some good results. But in my opinion, it doesn't really compete with Market Muse. So if I copy this, if I head over to Market Muse and I go to optimize, what I can do here is put in some keywords. So let me show you one that I've done previously, because there's only a limited number of queries that you can do every month with Market Muse. So let me show you some of my previous work. Okay, so Market Muse has shown me exactly what I need to do to optimize this piece of content. So this is a piece of content that we made for the mental health niche. It's specifically to target students who are having trouble with their morning routines. So we'll notice that there is a target here that Market Muse suggests that we reach, a word count target that it suggests. Okay, I haven't quite hit that, but that's okay because we've hit the target, and that's good enough. And you can see that it works in a very similar way to phrase. So if we have a look at phrase, you see that, it's listing all these keywords that we should add. Same process for Market Muse, but you will notice that some of the keywords are very different, and that's because Market Muse has a more advanced AI that analyzes all the search engine results. I think it actually goes beyond just the first 20 results. Phrase will analyze the first 20 results as far as I know, but then Market Muse will go a little bit deeper. It will look into topic clustering as well and give you a more detailed or a more accurate idea of what's actually going on for your keywords. So then you can just weave these in to the content. You can also take a deep dive into any one of these. So if you want to know more about a productive morning routine, maybe you can drill down into those keywords and get really specific. You can also use this to generate more ideas. So let's say there's something here that you want to really delve into. Let's say the benefits of a healthy breakfast. So it's going to give you some more content ideas. You can click on that. It's going to drill down into that and provide more keyword ideas here. So for example, the best healthy breakfast smoothies, Okay, so that's how you optimize your content. You can use phrase if you want to. It's better than using nothing, right? Or you can use Market Muse. There's a few other tools out there that will help you to get up and running with this. So once your content is all optimized, then we need to take it to Grammarly and then make sure that all the grammar and the punctuation and it's not plagiarized and all that good stuff. So let's head over to Grammarly. They do have a free option available, and let's click on new article. So what it's going to do is give us this really nice dashboard. Just paste in the article here. We can set our goals in Grammarly. I like to set it for general, so I like my content to be very easy to read, and then we can make it informal, neutral, formal. I'm going to make it neutral, and then domain, what's it for? I'm going to keep it general, and then tone. I don't really mess with that. And then intent, we want to inform people, and then click done. So now it's going to bring back a whole heap of suggestions that we can now fix. So for example, it's told us that this paragraph is hard to read. I wouldn't have realized that had Grammarly not told me that. So now I can fix that and then hopefully help people move further down that funnel structure and ultimately get to the call to action at the bottom, and then so they can take the next step into the funnel sequence. Oh, and one more thing which I forgot to mention earlier. If we go back to this outline, our very loose outline, think about people who are going to scan read your content. So not everybody is going to read every single word in every single paragraph. So what you need to do is make subheadings for people who will just skim read. So you want to appeal to both types of people. But the really important thing to note with this, or any real content marketing strategy, is you have to be consistent with it, because when you are consistent, you can achieve amazing results. Like Matt, he's made $2 million with my traffic methods. And if you want to know the secret and you are serious about growing a popular and profitable internet business, then of course you need more traffic, because traffic equals money. So I will give you the secret traffic methods that I never share anywhere else. including on YouTube. You can't get them anywhere else, and I'll give them to you for free when you go to profitcopilot.com/traffic. Grab that free training course. It's really going to help you. You'll be blown away by it. And you know what? If you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up below. Subscribe to the channel too, and hit that little notification bell so you don't miss out on any more traffic strategies and marketing methods from me. Thank you for watching. Take care.